Welcome back to the discussion, Combating Insider Threat in Government, sponsored by Varonis on Federal News Radio 1500 AM and federalnewsradio.com. My guest today is Brian Vecchi, Technical Evangelist, Varonis, and I'm your moderator, John Gilroy. Well, you know, Brian, I was at Fort Belvoir last Friday, and I was going through the gate there, and they had me jump up and down and swear in a stack of Bibles. I didn't have any thumb drives at all on me, and I didn't. And you know, I'm wondering if this is really the right place to focus. It just seems kind of silly.
I wouldn't call it silly. Thumb drives can certainly be both an ingress point for malware. It can be an egress point for data. You can exfiltrate data on a thumb drive, but trying to prevent data breaches by controlling thumb drive access is like trying to solve airline safety by requiring seatbelts. You want everybody to wear a seatbelt. It's a basic control that you have in place. It's not going to solve the problem.
Just driving a car. It's just step one.
Yep.
Let's do it. You know, I had 3 grown kids, and I've heard every excuse in the whole world through high school and college. But I'll give you an excuse that some of my listeners may use. You could probably go into some agency, and they're going to say, you know, we like to think we don't have any insider threats. Well, you just don't know.
Yeah, you don't know if only because insider threat doesn't necessarily mean it's somebody acting maliciously. If, as an attacker, I get inside the network by leveraging an insider that's already there and using their credentials, I can access anything that user can access. That's an insider threat attack, even if that particular user isn't the one accessing data. You need to make sure that your users only have access to what they're supposed to, and that access is taken away when it's no longer needed. That way, you mitigate the potential threat of any outside attacker getting those insider credentials. That said, insiders don't necessarily always behave as they're supposed to. You need to monitor all behavior because sometimes administrators behave strangely. Sometimes users get disgruntled and decide to leave. Not everybody stays happy forever. Sometimes people just make mistakes.
You know, there's an event that took place a couple weeks back, and there's a guy named Wayne Belk. Man, he's this great quote. I wrote it down. It's so appropriate. A lot of times you don't know what's walking out the door until it's gone. And then, now I guess we did have a threat back last week and didn't know it.
Again, you can't catch what you can't see. So if you're not looking at what people are actually accessing, by the time you're breached, it's already too late. There's no way to catch it because you have no record of what was actually touched. We hear over and over and over again that before using Varonis, we had no idea that people, right before they were leaving, were gathering everything they've ever worked on right before they go out the door. Now our customers are telling us that they see that before it happens so they can prevent those kind of attacks or those kind of breaches, because somebody walking out the door with your data is a breach, whether it ends up on the front page or not.
So when you take a look at agencies and large organizations in general, do you think the main obstacle is just the organization culture? Is it identifying resources to accomplish this, or what do you think the main culprit is in this resistance to watching what's going on?
I'd be hesitant to say there's a single main culprit. I think part of it is that many of the people, processes, and technologies around data security focus on traditional repositories, focus on the structured data, on the databases. They don't realize that the data that most agencies and most organizations have the most of and know the least about are files and emails. And what's changing is the value of that data is skyrocketing. And our controls have been traditionally very, very lax. So people have access to too much. We never see how that data is being used. And now it represents more risk than ever before. So now organizations need to focus on securing that data, not necessarily focus on the traditional controls that have always been there.
Well, I know what a gasoline engine is, and I know what a little gasoline engine in my lawnmower is, but tell me about an automation engine. So you must automate something, is that right?
You absolutely must automate something. What our automation engine does is automate the tasks of fixing data that's open to too many people and fixing many of the technically broken controls that prevent our customers from ever actually fixing this problem. For most of them, it takes 4 to 6 hours to go to a folder that might be open to everybody and lock that down appropriately. With Varonis, you can get that down to a few thousand in a day. With our automation engine, you could cover your entire enterprise just by pushing a button.
So this is a data security platform. Is that the way to phrase it? How would you phrase it?
It is a data security platform. What it does is it combines data classification, behavior monitoring, data access governance, and a variety of other technologies that traditionally were point reporting tools, manual processes, puts them all together in an automated, intelligent platform that connects all of the different disparate use cases that our customers need to secure their data.
Oh, I know what listeners are thinking. They're listening to you, listening to me, going back and forth and going, well, what do they know about NIST 800-53? What do those guys know about PCI and DSS? Come on now. It's all compliant with that too, I assume.
Absolutely. So most of those controls, when you get right down to them, basically say for the data that's under these regulations, whether it's SOX, PCI, HIPAA, HITECH, NIST, doesn't matter. Generally what they say is you need to make sure that you know who's got access to the asset, who's got access to the data. You also need to make sure that you know exactly who should and shouldn't have access and that it's all recorded. GDPR, which is a regulation in Europe right now, also says you need to make sure that you do regular risk assessments and that you have privacy by design. Those are the kinds of controls that organizations that are ahead of everybody else are putting into place right now.
You know, this town is full of incubators and startups and all kinds of, there's a place called Mach 37 with cybersecurity startups. And I think there's like 3,400 new startups in the last couple of years involved with cybersecurity. So why should people look at Varonis and go, well, aren't they just like another startup? I mean, what experience do you folks have?
We've been around for 12 years. We went public a couple of years ago, and we have 5,500 customers that have used both our products and our methodology for securing their data. We've got a proven track record of going into chaotic environments, some of the biggest organizations in the world, helping them turn on the lights, identify their most sensitive data, put behavior monitoring in place, and then put good preventive controls in place by getting rid of global access and making sure that people only have access to what they're supposed to so that they can sustain a model over time. That may sound like a really big project, but what it means is our customers get value right away by just turning on the lights, seeing what's there, and monitoring how their data is being used.
You know, I had an engineer send me a video file this morning, and I opened it up and sent it to one person. I didn't give global access to this video file. The access is to one person. So what you're saying is many systems in large organizations you see, they just arbitrarily open up files to whoever wants to take a peek.
Oftentimes that's done just by mistake. Oftentimes it's done because technically the data ended up open to everybody. Many organizations have absolutely no idea, not only what they have or where it is, they have no idea that it's open. And certainly this generally isn't being done on purpose. You don't want data, especially valuable data, open to everybody. Fixing the problem is extremely difficult, let alone knowing where all of that data is.
So this normally is part of a design of a system. You talked earlier about enterprise architecture, or is it more of like a cybersecurity type approach? Where does your product fit in?
Our product fits in throughout the entire stack. So we can help organizations not just fix the problems that they have, but also put good privacy by design or security by design into their systems. They can make sure that when they share data, when they create data for people to use, that it is properly secured and monitored. They can make sure that all data has an owner, so that they know exactly who should be making decisions about it, and that as new data is brought on board, it has privacy by design in place.
This probably should go hand in hand with moving to the cloud or a hybrid move to the cloud, putting one data set into the cloud. Wait. Now's an opportunity to maybe put some kind of a platform to control what's in the cloud there, and I can rest assured that the data is secure and rest.
Absolutely. We're hearing that a lot, that as our customers or as organizations move to both cloud and hybrid platforms, that they want to make sure that those controls are in place. What they're finding is that the controls that they already have are completely chaotic, and making those decisions now is just as difficult as it was in the past. If you don't know how the data is being used, you don't know what's sensitive, you don't know who it belongs to, it's very, very difficult to say, I want to make sure that only the right people have access, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud.
Great. I'd like to thank today's guest, Brian Vecchi, technical evangelist at Varonis. I'm John Gilroy on Federal News Radio 1500 AM. For more on this discussion, visit federalnewsradio.com and search Insider Threat.